Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jamera and I work in tech and I make content around lifestyle, living in Philly. That's changing. This is the first episode of a series that I'm calling Homecoming because I am, and if you didn't know, because I don't think I've done a get to know me video, I am originally from New York. I'm originally from Brooklyn. So I am moving back to Jay-Z city soon. And I just thought, I just figured that it was a name that symbolizes my return back to the city that I grew up in, that is a part of the greatest city in the world, I think. And I think in a time where just seeing how much gentrification and how much Brooklyn has changed, the fact that I'm able to come back and be able to rent and make a living and a life for myself in the city without having to struggle is something I didn't know was possible. So not to say I'm Rockefeller, but I'm just looking forward to this new journey and being able to live in my hometown for the foreseeable future. So this video is all about, my apartment search. I ended up securing a place, but I wanted to sort of walk you through the process and my thought. I've been recording clips here and there throughout this process of just sort of what it's been like and what's been on my mind. So here's the first clip. I don't know what I'm doing with this here, but I did want to provide my first apartment update. So this hunt has been very weird. I'm trying to find an apartment in the middle of winter in a different state during a rise in COVID cases. So just off the bat, I'm just trying not to go into New York very often. And I'm one of those people, when it comes to apartment hunting, I'm not trying to do not this go round. I'm just not that person that wants to be running around to different places and trying to find the perfect place. That's not what's happening with me. So most of my hunt has been on the internet, on Zillow, on StreetEasy, and just trying to figure out first off whether I want to live alone, whether I want to live with a roommate, but also what exactly I want on my list, where I want to be. And even though some things have come up, they've been snatched up because they're pretty great places. So I have been mostly doing this search online. And apartment update, I've located I've found out that a unit will be available for a studio in the building that I want. So that is what I have done. I have sort of targeted the building and then looked up the listing agent for the building and then just called them ahead of time, because I think what's the key is to get in on something that hasn't even been posted on StreetEasy yet, something that they know will be coming up in the next month or so that you have the first in. So I did that, and luckily something is available, and I thought that I would be going up to New York to view it on Sunday, but I just found out that the tenant is extending the lease for another month, which still works for me, thankfully. So because I am trying to move, I told the listing agent that I was trying to look for a place for February, but I have until the end of March to move. So the fact that this person is the new date won't be available until the beginning of March. That still works in my favor. So now I need to figure out like what's going on. If when Oh my gosh, my hair is like doing the most. I need to figure out like what's going on. When's the earliest that I can view the place to even determine if I want it or not. But I found like pictures of the space and it looks really nice. And the building itself, I've seen other listings from it. The building itself looks like it's well maintained. And that is what's honestly most important to me is like being taken care of. So that is just sort of like the update for me in terms of my apartment, and hoping that it goes well. If not, I'll just have to just start back up, even though I really don't want to. Like anyone else, I get like super fixated on things. It's like when I want something and like I find the thing that I want and fix my checks my boxes, like I'm done looking. I'm done looking. I don't want to like be doing all this running around. That has been the case for a few, like most of my apartments in Philly that I've found. It's like it's either it's been like the first or second place I've looked at, and it's like boom, I'm sold. Perfect. Oh, fingers crossed. So one thing that I really wanted to touch on, like after reviewing that first clip, was sort of like my process around choosing between getting a roommate or living alone. So I really considered living with a roommate because I wanted to pay down debt, and I thought that it was the more responsible thing for at least 6 months to a year, and just pay off my debt and stuff like that. And for that, I didn't want to go past like $1,500 because I figured I could like find a studio or something on my own in the city for that amount. Like at that point it was like, oh, you don't need a roommate, you can try to live alone. So I joined like all these different groups on Facebook, all these different like roommate groups, and I met with a few people, did some video calls, and it just it didn't feel right. It reminded me, the process had like reminded me of how isolated I felt when I did the roommate experience, when I first moved to Philadelphia. Like throughout college I had like suite mates and stuff like that. When I first moved to Philadelphia, I had 2 roommates, and it was like a 3-bedroom house, 1 bath, and it was an experience. And I felt like I isolated myself in my room, and having those conversations with like my boyfriend and my mom, they like reminded me of how I felt. My mom was like, you said you'd never get a roommate, but here I was trying to be fiscally responsible. I like made a whole pro-con list of living with a roommate versus living alone, and ultimately just came down to prioritizing myself and really the freedom that I wanted. Like when I moved back to Philly, I was like in my early 20s. I was new to the city, but now at 28, I don't really want to share a space with someone. I'm really excited about designing and decorating my home in a style that is reflective of my personal style, and I don't really want to like deal with like other people's pets and just sort of like being confined to my room with my desk. And most importantly, there's also COVID. Like there's still a threat of COVID, and the pandemic is still happening. So I needed to be conscious of the fact that like I would still want my boyfriend to visit. Like I don't want to like being with another roommate and living with someone else could potentially expose myself and him, or it's just like very easy to like get spread, get a virus if you are like sharing spaces with multiple people, and everyone's leading their own lives. So I really wanted to sort of like lessen that risk. So I wanted freedom to do whatever I wanted in my space, design how I wanted. I also wanted like more room. I live in a studio now and it's tight. It's tight. I call this place my COVID apartment because I've just been in here for this whole pandemic, and I'm getting so crazy. I can't do any sort of like movement in this space because there's like for the most part, every like area on the floor is sort of like has a piece of furniture in it, and it's just not it's not it. I need more space, even if it's like another studio. um I just would like to be a little bit more spread out. So there was that. um so yeah, that was down the roommate tip, and I eventually decided to live alone and look at studios or one bedrooms. My must-haves, one thing that I really wanted to do was have a space that had natural light for mental health purposes. Like I wanted to be in a space that had direct sunlight, had great sun. I wanted a place that had a laundry in the building. I currently have a studio that has a washer and dryer in it, and it's amazing. I'm so grateful. But I knew moving back to New York, I was not going to get that. I knew that sometimes it's even hard to find laundry units in the building. So I knew that I was never going to get it in the unit without spending like thousands and thousands of dollars, which I didn't have. So, and I will say that I didn't want my budget for living alone was between 1,500 to like 1,800 for rent. So I didn't want to do yeah, so that's I wanted to be mindful of. I thought of my budget ahead of time, and I wanted to make sure that it made sense. I also have my car, and I plan on bringing my car to New York, which I feel like is not a thing that people is a thing people do not recommend. Like if you're driving, if you have a car, a lot of people get rid of it, but I grew up in the city, and I just feel like I've lived that life of always being on the train, being stuck on the ground in the train, being in like just commuting. And I I have my car, and I want my car, and I plan on still using my car. I have family scattered across New York City, and you can spend up to 2 hours on the train commuting to like, you know, from one part of Brooklyn to like a area of Queens. And I know that I just would prefer to have my car and prefer to be in my car to do that. So I wanted to be in a location that had parking, and that was good for parking. It wasn't like overly congested, and it would be even great if the building had a parking garage, which is not like that wasn't like a must-have. I will say that. I also wanted to be close to work. So I wanted to be close to work. I needed to, even though my job is like I'm still able to work remotely right now, it will eventually I will eventually have to be hybrid. So it wasn't that high on my list to be right off of the train, but I wanted to be less than a 30-minute commute from work. And but also at the same time, because working hybrid, and because I was working remote and will be working hybrid, I didn't want to base my whole like life decision on like the distance to work, because it didn't factor in as much. I really just wanted like a great quality of life. Yeah, so I took that information, and that's sort of what guided me to find like these places and sort of modify my search. So the bad news is that my the apartment that I was really interested in, it sort of fell through because the tenant decided to extend for another month, and I don't have that time. So I need to be leaving. um I need to be out of my place by the end of February, so that is not going to work. And I was really bummed out by it because I just really loved the location. I loved the unit. I loved the light. I loved that there was laundry in the building. But at the end of the day, it's New York real estate, and you just got to keep moving um, for and looking for like another unit. So that was the bad news. The good news is I got my hair done, cut, trimmed. I don't know about the shape of it yet, but whatever. But on the housing front, the good news is that I saw another listing that I really liked, and had my mom go and check it out yesterday, and spoke to the realtor about it, and she sent me videos. My mom saw it, and my mom thought it was okay, and it's not too far from where, it's a little bit further out from where like I'd like to be, but I still think I'm gonna apply for it. And it is like a co-op building, so I think that comes with its own rules, its own, like, it's a little bit different. So that's something that I have to like prepare for, but I'm gonna apply, see if I get in, get all the documents together, and hopefully it'll be mine. Wish me luck. So I got approved for the apartment yesterday, and it has been a whirlwind. I had just been running around trying to get, the payment sent off, and signing the lease, and reviewing the lease, and making sure my ducks are in a row. But I did want to share that I got the apartment and things are official. But yeah, I'm gonna get back to work and check in with you later. So yeah, I found a place. I found a place that I really wanted, that fell within most of my must-haves on my list, and I'm really excited about it. I didn't find the place like has parking, but I will just be doing street parking since again I work from home, so I can move my car and do what I need to do, and I don't plan on driving around so much during the weekdays, so I think it should be fine. I think parking in Berlin in general is a challenge because everyone drives. I think a lot more people are driving now because there's just a lack of investment in the transportation system. So it is what it is, but I am excited. The interesting thing is, like, I'm so grateful to my mom who, like, literally that day, the minute I saw the listing, I called her to confirm that she could check it out. And that day she was able to look at it, and we FaceTimed, and I talked to the listing agent, and it just was like, it all went so fast. And I think, that's what happens in New York is you see a listing that you could potentially like, you reach out to people, you make sure all of your stuff is in line, and you just sort of pounce on it. So thankfully, like, it worked out, and I have never been in a position where I have not seen a place that I have signed the lease for. But my mom like is pretty particular about things, and the fact that she thought that I really trusted her decision on this, I really trusted her view on this, and the fact that she didn't like call out any red flags is is important, and if it gives me hope. And also I looked up the building. That's what I feel like you have to do. I looked up the building to see like what sort of violations that's on the building, and I feel like I can live with it, but we'll see. I want to look at the place next weekend. I want to go up there next weekend because I think there's a snowstorm coming this weekend, and my car is so old, so I don't think I'm gonna be driving up to New York in those sort of conditions. So I still have yet to see the space in person, and I feel like when I see it, I'll record it and show it with you all. But it looks good, and yeah, like I said, it sort of hits all of my marks. So the next step is packing up, getting everything in line, getting like figuring out the moving, packing, figuring out the days, like lining all those ducks in a row while working. I don't know how people are doing this, but it's a lot, and I want to take it one step at a time. And also it's like, also don't have any furniture, so I don't feel like it's going to be a very extensive move, because my place that I currently have was partially furnished, so I don't have to worry about taking a few of the larger pieces with me. And I don't think I'm going to take my bed, but that means furniture shopping. And I've been hearing a lot of y'all talk about how backed up furniture is, so I'm very concerned about that. But we're gonna make it do. We're gonna make do. We're gonna make it work. But that is the end of my video, and if you have any questions, leave them down below and I will try my best to answer them. But I'm excited. This is definitely I'm excited about this change, but I'm also terrified of it. But I feel like it'll be really good, and I'm just looking forward to sort of like vlogging it and documenting it, because I think it's an important thing to do, but for myself. So thanks again for watching the video, and if you want to see more of these adventures and like my homecoming series, definitely like the video and subscribe to the channel. So have a good night. Bye.
She said she the one, I bet she thinks she is. Saying don't have no trust, I don't know where you been. I need a break.